Okay, so what is it that will make us more successful? What is it that will allow us to achieve more, to become more, to have more? That's what this session is directed towards, the self-directed success solution, to take advantage of the best and most effective use of our time, not just in this moment, not just in this day, but as a new process and a new structure and philosophy going forward, absolutely essential. Jim Rohn, again, someone you'll hear me talk about an awful lot, one of the brightest men my business ever produced, said this of success and failure, that failure is a few errors in judgment repeated daily. Success is a few disciplines repeated daily, right? There's no big bang theory. I'm not going to succeed today and I'm not going to fail today. And people, really get faked out in this process of thinking that the people who are wildly successful are doing something that the rest of us are just not capable of doing. That's nonsense, not true. They are invested in the correct activity, not a Herculean effort every day, but the right activity every day. And it's the compound effect of what we do or what we don't do that will determine where we end up in life. This illustration, the ride on the roller coaster, is so indicative for so many people of what happens to us that does not allow us to achieve extraordinary success. And we've all been at both points on this roller coaster. At point A, when everything is going well, our confidence is high, our belief is high, we're invested in the activity, we're starting to roll out on this. And we've also all been at point B too, when we fell off the wagon, when we stopped investing in what was making us successful, when our confidence starts to fall and our belief starts to fall. And that's very much indicative of this slide down the roller coaster. The further down we get, the lower our confidence goes, the lower our belief goes. And as such, the lower our activity goes and ultimately results in this as well. And so when you look at what happens on this roller coaster and we truly get to find out what is it that the extraordinarily successful people are doing, here's what they're doing. They're getting to point A and they are staying there. Therein lies the magic. Jim Collins, who is a fascinating writer. If you like to read books, and you should like to read books, you get the entire story when you buy a book. But Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, was an examination of the top corporations in the world and what made them the top companies. I like his books because they're all research-based instead of being someone's navel-gazing. They spent a significant amount of time doing the research to find out the answers to write these books. His last book was called Great by Choice. And this book is an examination of the top producers, the perennial winners in industries all over the world. And what is it that they are doing that the majority of the people are not doing? And here's what they found out. One of the interesting things, too, about Jim Collins is that everyone specifically, categorically, that he writes about, he typically gives them a name. In Good to Great, he called the top CEOs level 5 leaders. In Great by Choice, the perennial winners, he called these people the productive paranoids. Not a great name for these people, but very indicative of their philosophy and why they got to the top and why they stay there. Here's why. Whatever it is that they're doing that they know is necessary, they don't get faked out and take their foot off the gas. Whether it's new business development, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's continuing to advance and learn in their career, they are continuously focused on today, tomorrow, next week, next quarter, next month, next year. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? And as a result of that, their activity stays consistent and high, not over the top. These people, and I have many of them as my clients, they are not working 18 to 20-hour days, but they have trained themselves to be laser focused on the best and most effective use of their time day in and day out, which allows them what? To never get down to point B. And so imagine that. In developing that process for you, how will that change your life? In going from point B to point A and staying there and not going through all these psychological challenges of having your belief and your confidence lowered and crushed down lower and lower and lower. And so therein lies the answer, to get to point A and stay there. Lots of times when I'm delivering this at a conference, I wave at the audience and say, "Thank you very much. That's what you do. I'll see you later." And I start to walk off the stage. But that is the answer, true? Yes, it is. And that's what this session is about, is being able to do that specifically day in and day out. One final story to share with you. I think one of the great stories for me personally about this process was back in the day when I first started in broadcasting. $4.25 an hour, part-time, 12 hours a week, starving, like so many people who start out in a new venture. And at the time, we were at a radio station in Barrie, Ontario, just north of Toronto, about 45 minutes. And so we had the opportunity to listen to all the major market radio stations. And so many people in broadcasting, that's their goal, is to make it to major market, because then you can have an opportunity to eat craft dinner and something else, to be able to work in what's called the big league. So one of the guys that I work with, a friend of mine, Dave, he was the first of our group to get out of the station in Barrie, and he was hired by Chum FM in Toronto. And we had a big party for him and had a big send-off, and we all secretly hated him. And he was gone a couple of weeks, and he called me one day and said, "Listen, I'm going to be in the station on Wednesday. Do you want to come down for a tour?" So I said, of course. I mean, this is like Mecca in radio. So I went down on the Wednesday, and Dave gave me a tour of the station, and we're walking around, and all the platinum albums are sitting on on the walls and everywhere of all the artists, and pictures and signatures and all these things. And we get to this one part of the radio station back in the back part where the broadcast booth was, and there was an alcove area there and some couches, and Dave and I sat down on the couch, and we're chatting and listening to the songs playing over the speakers, and I looked through the glass, and this is the on-air booth of Chum FM. And I'm talking to Dave, and I looked through the glass, and the guy through the glass was the guy. This guy, to all of us radio geeks, was a god. This guy was legendary in the business, not to the public, but more to the announcers, and here's why. In 20 years of being on air, no one could ever remember him making a mistake. He never tripped over his words. He never made a mistake. Talk radio, there's a 7-second delay. If someone swears or makes a racist comment, but in music radio, it's live, because it's the staff of the radio station who's doing the show. And so I'm sitting on the couch, and I'm watching him, on air, and the song is playing throughout the speakers in the radio station. And I watch him through the glass, and he's got a notepad, and he's writing. And I see him writing, and he's writing, and he's writing. And after a while, he put the notepad up in front of him on a lectern in front of him at the control board. And now I see his mouth moving. But it's strange, because now I can still hear the song playing throughout the radio station, but I see his mouth moving. He's in a soundproof booth, obviously. And so I find this very puzzling, but eventually the song starts to wind down. You can hear it getting quieter, and the red light comes on outside of the booth. It says on air, just like on WKRP. So the red light comes on, and the song winds down, and he comes on the radio and says, "That's U2 and 1 on 104.5 Chum FM. I'm so-and-so, 3:23 in the afternoon, 16 degrees right now, going to a high of 23 later on today. Don't forget to be listening tomorrow morning for your chance to listen to Roger, Rick, and Marilyn, for your chance to board the Chum FM trip for 2 down to sunny Barbados. 16 degrees right now, Mariah Carey on the way, and Bryan Adams, I'm so-and-so on Chum FM." Hits the commercials, goes into the break. Yes, I did it before. So he goes through the commercial break, comes back out, announces the Bryan Adams song, and then he leaves the booth, because that's when announcers can pee, when the song is playing. So Dave says to me, he says, "Come here, do you want to see the booth?" I'm like, of course. I mean, this is, to me, I'm just imagining one day I'm going to sit here at this enormous radio station, and that will be my chair, and that will be my microphone, and the big logo on the wall and everything. And I'm walking into the booth, and I'm looking around, and I look down on the console, and here's the notepad the guy was writing on. So again, the guy's a god, right? So I'm snooping, and I'm reading what was he writing? And I'm watching if he's coming back from the washroom, and I'm reading, and I'm reading, and I'm reading, and I'm reading. And guess what was on that paper? Every word he just said, including his name. And I was able to pull back that curtain and see the little man from Oz in there working all the controls. He wasn't a god. He wasn't a hero. There was nothing special about him. You know what he was? He was a pro. He had made the decision all those years ago that every time he turned on that microphone, he was going to be a pro. So here's what he was doing. When the song was playing, he wrote down exactly what he was going to say, longhand. Then before the song was over, he put the note up in front of himself and read it out loud 2 or 3 times, and then turned on the microphone and delivered it perfectly. And I've never forgotten that story. And you know what? For you and I and everyone, you can make that decision right now, and I'm asking you to do that. Make that decision from this day forward, every day, that you're going to show up as a pro. And I promise you, when you do that, then absolutely everything changes, because it does. Set the goal, find out what's necessary to achieve it, begin to invest in the activity, and if you don't stop, you can have everything. And it gets to happen a whole lot quicker when you show up as a pro.